Good day, welcome to Music Motors and welcome to the 2021 Suzuki Across, however you want to say it. It's powered by a 2.5 litre petrol engine which produces 185 PS, 227 Newton meters of torque, but is combined with an electric motor, which means realistically you can get 306 brake horsepower, which is just mental. A 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds, top speed of 112 miles an hour. All of this whilst being able to do 46 miles on a electric charge without even turning the engine on. Now, the base price of this car is £46,000, quite a lot of money, but the business in kind, 6%. So monthly, this is quite an affordable car. And being totally honest, because this is the first one that they've done with Toyota, I don't want to completely blow Toyota out of the water, but I think Suzuki have done it better. So find out in this episode of Music Motors just how well Suzuki have made the Across. How well is this going to deal with everyday life? Is it as good as the Toyota RAV? Find out, stay tuned, and subscribe and like if you like the video. Outside, the proportions are very much confined within what Toyota had, but what Suzuki did was go, we like it, but the front end's a little snub-nosed. So at the front, they made it more refined, more sporty. They made it more distinct and made it simply Suzuki. That front end is beautifully put together, lovely headlight cluster, nice grille. The front end does feel really refined and finished. When you get onto that slightly side profile, 19-inch diamond cut alloys. Now this is the big difference. Every single RAV I've seen on the road has had dinky little wheels, whereas this is something completely different. 19-inch diamond cut alloys that look sporty, that hold the road and are simply, well, being brutally honest, magnificent to look at. That side profile is also very nice. Whilst technically is quite close to the Toyota variant, is equally enough Suzuki that you know it's sort of them. Back end, lovely refinement, nice lines, sleek, sharp lines. It is really lovely to look at, and as a complete finished picture, the aesthetics of this car look fantastic. Now this red colour, central red, probably my favourite colour in the lineup, because this is a truly magnificent red colour that isn't too in your face, but equally isn't too understated. It's perfectly in the middle of being capable of making people notice you, but not notice you so much that they want to key your car. Put this up side by side by a competitor using the same platform, and unfortunately you will see the resemblances. But what you'll notice is just how Suzuki have made the changes, and honestly, aesthetically, front, side and back, this looks fantastic in comparison, and by all means is using Suzuki's new design language, which as a result means it's a very pretty car. Time for a bit of a local economy test around town, taking food that I've just picked up from the supermarket to the two food banks, full charge. Let's go. So that's pretty impressive. So I had this set in HEEV Auto, so effectively it works more like a hybrid than a conventional just using electric PHEV, just because, you know, realistically you're not always going to have 100% charge. If I'd had 100% charge, this was going to get 354 miles to the gallon, but that's not a true representation. You're not always going to have full charge, and sometimes this car's going to run as a hybrid or entirely an internal combustion engine or a generator charging it. So I wanted to see what the realistic range was going to be in that mixed driving cycle, and around town that was 99.9 miles to the gallon, which is pretty ridiculous considering the size of this, the weight of this. It's pretty mad. Now, it's very quiet, it's very smooth. The boot space is huge. I didn't even scratch the surface. Driving position's great. Sound system's great around town, not that you need to crank it up anyway because it's quite quiet in here. The lock could be slightly better for tighter turns, but that's about it. The fuel economy is great. The drive is quite nice around town. You really can't complain. This is a brilliant city car. Step inside and not too much has changed from the platform it was based on. Whilst it does have a Suzuki badge going on, a lot of the inside is very much as you would expect to see when it's a shared platform. That said, it does seem quite well put together. The handles and switches all have a nice feel. The visibility from the driver's position is very, very good. Now, starting straight away with the dash like information in front of the driver, it's a beautiful mix of analog dials and digital. I'm so fed up of not having a digital fuel needle that to see that there was a real one here was an absolute godsend. But that said, the screen that gives you the miles per hour and everything else does seem a little bit low quality in comparison to not necessarily using the same platform, but other vehicles in the marketplace. When you get to the infotainment, my only bugbear is that to reach over and press the home button, you do literally have to reach over to press it. Realistically, it's got everything on there that you want to see, and it does have a variety of different bits, including Apple CarPlay. But the quality of the display just seems a little bit low in comparison to competitors. That said, it's by no means bad. I just would have liked to have seen a slightly higher resolution screen. When it comes to the audio, what is actually surprisingly good and very punchy, a good amount of control. Climate control is very easy to navigate and use. You have a dual climate control, lots of actual analog buttons, which I very much like. Back to that driving position, the seat is actually very comfortable and quite holding, which you don't really expect because it's a comfortable cruiser. But actually it's very holding when you go through the corners a little bit quicker than maybe you think you are, because the inside of the car is so quiet you kind of don't notice how fast you're going. Headroom's very, very good, and then your rear passengers, really good amount of space, USB sockets if your passengers need them, a huge amount of boot space, including a power supply should you need to plug anything in back there. Say you're out working in the middle of nowhere, oh no, my laptop's run out of charge, well, you're in luck. Keep rolling, this is all going to be one take. That, ladies and gentlemen, is why, very much why, I tether my GoPros, because they get lost. Genuinely though, the inside does seem really good build quality. It's a really lovely place to be. Good touches of leather, fake leather. Look, there's a lot of plastic. There's a lot of plastic in all cars, and unless you're going to spend substantially more money, that's what you kind of get. But the inside does have a fantastic air about it, and it is a wonderful place to be. So in the real world, when you drive on a motorway, realistically, are you going to have a full tank of electric? Maybe, maybe not. So to find out what this can achieve with zero electric, I am going to be driving 46.5 miles just on the motorway in pure engine mode, as in I'm leaving with no charge whatsoever. The point is, if this has electric charge, you're going to get 99.9 miles to the gallon upwards. You're going to see even potentially that over 300 miles to the gallon because of the range. But when that electric runs out, what can this turn around? So let's find out. So some 40 odd miles later I've arrived, and what I got was 49.1 miles to the gallon. Now that was a lot of climbing and non-climbing, and what I found is as I was going along, the vehicle ended up going, okay, I've generated some charge going down a hill, I'm going to use a bit of EV power, and that really sent the economy going up. Obviously long hills do drain it quite a lot, and it's kind of like a CVT box, so it gets a little bit noisy on the longer hills, but not to say it's actually noisy in the cabin. But on paper they say that at very best this should get 53, and at very worst it should see 36.6 with a good high of 49.7. So I was pretty close to what they've claimed. Obviously, if you have electric charge, you can do considerably more miles with a lot less petrol. So as a result, you could see that 379 miles to the gallon, depending how long your commute is. Inside, even though it's really windy, it dealt with it very well. It was very quiet, very composed. It's very comfortable to be in here. The sound system's pretty good. The seats are very comfortable. Everything is quite literally your fingertips, although sometimes to reach over to press the home buttons a little bit farther. That's about it. From a motorway point of view, this was a exceptionally surprising result. Now, performance, because this is a bit of a funny one and there's a lot to talk about. So as I said, it's powered by a 2.5 litre petrol engine which produces 185 PS and 277 newton meters of torque. But because it also powers an electric motor, that means that at peak you can have 306 brake horsepower and a 0 to 60 time of 6 seconds. Now, what this does mean is that when you really need to put your foot down, the immense immediate torque is pretty mind-bending for a vehicle of this weight, a vehicle of this size. It's instantaneous. It's a massively quick vehicle. On paper, Suzuki say that this can get, you know, like 200 miles to the gallon if you're looking at that 46-mile range. Realistically, yes, you're quite easily going to see that 46-mile range, so long as you're careful. And that 100+ miles to the gallon with ease. Like, without trying, you will see 99.9 miles to the gallon whilst the battery has charge. Pretty epic. When the battery runs out of charge, and that's the big question, what happens then? 49.1 miles to the gallon-ish is fully achievable. If you drive like a hoon around town, you will never see under 30, because this generates electricity and pops into EV mode as you're going around town. It's really adaptive and pretty surprising at just how fuel efficient it can be, even when you're being an absolute nonce. But then when you get on the back roads and you put your foot down a bit, the bit that's really surprising is that, yeah, you do feel the weight a little bit, but realistically you don't feel it a huge amount. Realistically, this handles like it's on rails, which, you know, to be fair, with a four-wheel drive system, you kind of expect. It just pulls itself out and around. It's really, really pretty impressive. But you then think, well, actually, I'm not feeling the weight of the car as much as I think. And that immediate throttle response as you come out of corners, there's an abundance of it. It's pretty epic. And the brake feel, yeah, cool. They don't give you loads of feedback. Yeah, they're kind of spongy, but they're also regenerating energy as you're kind of going round corners and you're braking, and there's a lot of stuff going on, so it makes sense why they would kind of feel a little bit like that. But generally inside then, you're held in your seat and it's really, really impressive. I didn't expect this car to be able to go around corners half as well as it actually does. Around town, the lock is okay, it could be better, but generally does a pretty good job of getting you around corners as you need. And that around town nip is fantastic. But then to know that, cool, I've used my 46 miles of electric range around central London, or wherever you need to use it, to then know at the weekend you've actually got something which is pretty fun to drive and pretty engaging. Sure, steering doesn't offer loads of response, but it offers enough that you know what's going on, and it's enough that you're not completely numb with the car. You do get some feedback. Totally unexpected. I know Suzuki makes some fantastic cars, and I know they make some immense sports cars, and they have done cool sports cars like Suzuki Swift Sport. But you don't expect it in a bigger car. You don't expect that amount of steering feedback, and it gives you a little bit. That throttle response, it gives you a lot. That brake feel, it gives you enough to know what's going on. So then as a whole, the drive seems fantastic. Put that alongside with the fact that the economy is really good, so long as you're able to plug it in when you go shopping, when you're at home. That the fuel economy is decent, bearing in mind a 2.5 litre petrol engine. It's decent even when you're out of charge and you're just driving it as a conventional hybrid. It's pretty incredible and kind of a bit mind-bending that it's capable. So outside, aesthetically, it really does look fantastic. It is a fantastically finished car, and if you get the 19-inch diamond cut alloys, whoa, they look fantastic. Inside, it is genuinely pretty good quality. Yeah, sure, I would like even more real leather, But as plastic interiors go, this is a pretty good effort. Very comfortable, very quiet, literally what you want for everyday long commutes. And performance is pretty, well, shocking in a good way, because I never ever thought that a vehicle like this would be able to do what this does. Outlander PHEV, don't get me wrong, like, it's a lovely car and it drives pretty well, but this drives better, which is pretty surprising. This car effectively just surprised me because it looked good, it had a good interior, the boot space is fantastic, and this really can suit so many walks of life. Yeah, 47,000 pound on the road, but 6% BIK, business in kind. Monthlies aren't that expensive. Realistically, this is a car which can do so many things for so many people. And genuinely, I think this is the best car Suzuki currently make.